We often talk about the Phillies and their daycare, their youth movement. Bryson Stott, Alec Bohm. Now that's going to carry them. But the Philadelphia Eagles in 2023 actually are really legitly going to be led by a youth movement. We always think about the Eagles as this veteran laden team, but the daycare is in session for the Philadelphia Eagles. We're going to talk about that. We got a guest joining us here shortly. Trending in the AM on Philadelphia Sports Network. We start live in 30 seconds.
Fourth and goal.
And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live all over social media, YouTube, Facebook. You know the drill to like and share and retweet. Well, not retweet because we're not on Twitter anymore. Share and like this video. It's free to do that. It's free to hit that like button. It's free to share it out. It's free to follow and subscribe. It's free to turn the notifications on because you don't want to miss a minute of the action. You never know. I always go live at 8:15. Sometimes I go live earlier. Sometimes we have extended or extra episodes. Could do 8 o'clock for the better value for you, but I'm just not going to, man. It's football season. I'm not going to just go live early just because you said so. Good morning, Tyrone. How you doing? Uh, Buenos dias. Yes, that's right. See, that's my Spanish. That's my Spanish right there for the day. We are now in day 8 of the escaped fugitive running wild throughout Chester County. Still going on. They still can't catch this 5-foot Brazilian murder. Our town is on lockdown still. It's insane. It's crazy. Um, let's freaking go. That's right. It's football season tonight. First game of the season. And we got a special guest, Mike Greger, join us in a few minutes here. He's one of the lead Eagles writers for Philadelphia Sports Network. We're going to talk about his latest article that he wrote and some other topics. But you know what? It's football, and there's football tonight, Chiefs Lions, and we will talk a little bit about that game as well. And I got an interesting question about that game that we will talk about later in the show. Something I want to talk about. I was reading Mike Greger's article as we get set for him to join us here in a little bit, and and one of the things in his article was talking about the possibilities of Jalen Carter winning the Defensive Rookie of the Year. And I was thinking about that a little bit, how hard it is for a defensive, tackle to, a defensive lineman in general, just to really make an effect early on in their season, in their career. And I started thinking, and yesterday we were talking with Liam about the captains and Kelsey Lane and those 4 core vets that are still here. But if you really want to think about this Eagles team, that daycare nickname that's given to the Philadelphia Phillies really belongs on the Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, how many I just thought of this topic and this idea literally like 10 minutes ago. So I didn't do excessive research on it. Maybe I'll do more of it and get to it tomorrow a little bit more, or somebody watching can do the research. But like honestly, how many players on this Eagles team are 26 and below in age? How many guys aren't even 28 yet on this team? You got the 4 vets and you got a few guys. But you got Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Milton Williams, so young on that defensive line. Nakobe Dean, basically a second year rookie. You've got, Reed Blankenship, Sidney Brown in in the safety room, the young cornerbacks and Eli Ricks and Kellen Ringo on offense. Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts is still only 26, I believe. Devontae Smith, young, Swift, Gainwell, young. They're not older vets. The daycare movement that we always talk about with the Phillies, that's the Eagles. This Eagles team, we've got so many high hopes. They're the defending NFC and NFC East champions. We expect them to repeat. We expect them to get back to the Super Bowl. A lot of us think they're going to win the Super Bowl this year. And they're going to do it on the backs not of their 4 grizzly vets that have been around for double-digit seasons in the NFL. They're going to do it because of the youth movement on this team. Howie Roseman has those vets on this team. But what he also has is a lot of youth. And join us on the I Have No Sponsor hotline. Mike Greger is ready to join us. So we're going to pop him up on the screen here. Good morning, Mike. How you doing today?
Hey, Phil. Sorry about that.
Nah, it's all
My
good, man.
fault.
My notifications are turned off right before the show, so I didn't see your
Okay.
DM. So we're all good. We're live here. We're ready to roll. And before I want to spend a lot of time talking about the article you put out yesterday, the 10 things you think you know about this Eagles. But right before we went live, I came up with this thought in my mind, and I don't know how much you follow the Phillies, but they call the Phillies the daycare unit. You know, all the youth movement. And as much as we think about the four Grizzly captain vets on this team, that daycare movement really feels like it's should be more on the Eagles, because as much as we have those four core vets, this team's success this year is going to be built on the youth of this team, not just Jalen Carter, but I mean up and down this team. There's a lot of youth. What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Earlier this week, I said, I mean, Nakobe Dean's kind of the linchpin of the whole defense. I mean, he's kind of in
Absolutely.
charge out there. I mean, he looked great in that one preseason game. He got the strip fumble,
Right.
but I mean, he didn't make a lot of splash plays throughout camp or any other games. But when you talk to the players on the team, they just rave about this guy's leadership and just what a professional he is. And so they have a lot of faith in him, and I kind of trust that they know what they're doing. And just based on his college tape, obviously, he looks like he's going to be a beast. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of not too worried. But yeah, if you want to pinpoint a worry on this team, yeah, they're asking guys to step into starting positions, to critical positions. Even some of the first rounders like Nolan Smith's going to get legitimate snaps coming in rotation. So I think that is, if you want to pick a concern, that is a concern. But I'm not
I
that
wasn't
worried
even
about
like
it because
picking
of
it
the
as a
veterans. I'm not that worried about it.
I wasn't picking it as a concern, more as like a question. Like we've got a lot of hopes put on. I mean, obviously we're the defending NFC East and NFC champions, and you think about even someone like Jalen Hurts. We think of Jalen Hurts as this grizzled veteran. He's what, 26 years old. He's still pretty young in his career. So it's not a concern. It's a positive thought process of, not only if they can handle the pressure this year, they can handle it for years to come. And Mista, yeah, in today's age with the salary cap, you've got to fill your team with cheap rookie contracts. Absolutely. And it is the key to success. You can't have all, you see the 49ers gave $300 billion to Joey Bosa or Nick Bosa last night. That's going to hamper them down the line, and they're going to have a lot of young, cheap people on that team. I was thinking about the parallels between Carter and Jerome Brown, both major talents. Both, yeah. Well, that's. I don't want to get in that there, Tyrone, because that Jerome Brown thing, that was very tragic to my childhood as well. But the youth movement, I mean, it's not just Jalen Carter, and that was, you wrote this great article, 10 things I think I know about the Philadelphia Eagles team, and it's on Philadelphia Sports Network, guys. You should check it out. Um, Jalen Carter is one of the things that you think that he's going to win the Defensive Rookie of the Year this year. I mean, you've been down at camp a few times this offseason. You've been covering the team for a while. What is it about Jalen Carter that you see that, like, it's not easy for a rookie to step in and, we're expecting Jalen Carter to fill that Javon Hargrave role. What do you see in him that makes you think that Jalen Carter could step in instantly and just boom, no missed beat there from Hargrave to Carter?
He just, I mean, he just looks the part. I know that's
Right.
kind of cliche to say, but I mean, he's just bigger than everyone. He's more athletic than everyone. And just to see him, I know it was that one snap in the preseason, just to see what he was able to do there and just overpower a veteran offensive lineman and get into the backfield and nearly get a sack. Probably would have had a sack in a real game, I think.
Right.
I mean, I know the comparisons are Aaron Donald, and that's very lofty. I
Yeah.
probably have written it at one point. I think I have. But it's a fair comparison if you want to play the comparison game. He just looked like a professional football player, and when you go back and looked at, I mean, at one point this guy was going to be the number one pick in the draft. It was kind of a given. And then the stuff comes out, the lawsuit comes out, and all that stuff, and then the bad combine, and it's almost like he tanked himself to get to a better team. I'm not going to start a conspiracy theory, but it's almost like he kind of did that, right? And he's here where he wants to be. He's listed second team on the depth chart, but he's going to play like a starter. I think that's the plan for him. So he's going to have enough reps to get the numbers, and he just looks like he's going to be a beast.
So Javon Hargrave had double-digit sacks, and we did a whole over/under stat poll earlier in the week on this show. And there's a lot of people like you predicting Defensive Rookie of the Year, and I think that's a fair projection that he could win that. I mean, he's one of the favorites to win it, but a lot of people are predicting double-digit sacks for this guy. And I know, Tyrone said here a few moments ago he's got advanced pass rush moves, which is fantastic, but he's also a great run defender too, Tyrone. A lot of people are projecting a lot of high numbers for him. So I set the over/under at 9.5 sacks for him this year. And the over was the overwhelming, winning number or winning, vote in this poll. And I thought 9.5, even for a rookie, was a little lofty for a rookie defensive tackle.
Yeah.
I'm surprised so many people hit that over on that poll there. Are we putting too much or too many expectations on Jalen Carter?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, this is what he was supposed to be. This is the player he's supposed to be. Like, if he was on another team, he would be starting and he'd be getting probably even more snaps he's going to get here. So I wrote 11 and I was kind of embellishing a bit. That was kind of – so the goal of that article was kind of like saying it in a different way. It would be like 10 bold predictions that probably
it was bold predictions. But I like the way you phrased it, 10 things I think. Because by you saying 10 things I think I know, it gives you a backdoor out if you're wrong. Instead of saying I think this will happen. Well, I didn't project it to happen. I thought it could happen. You're just being very politically correct. You might want to run for office with those types of headlines.
I've thought about it. I want to get involved in politics on some level.
Man, I you know what? I would love to get involved in politics just to show that people can talk normal like this. You know what I mean? And I could say offensive things and just whatever and be like, whatever. I don't care. No, I would never get involved.
I asked Jason Kelsey last year when I was interviewing him one time. I was like, "You should run for mayor. Like, you would win in a landslide. Have you ever thought about it?" And he's like, "Nah, that's not for me. That's a good way to get hated by everyone."
Well, yeah. Well, it's Jason Kelsey for mayor. I joked one of the presidential elections, The Rock should run for president. I know he even debated about it for a little bit. Like some of these, celebrities or sports athletes, I don't know. We love them and we would vote them in office like that, but doesn't mean they'd make good politicians either.
They could ruin their legacy. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about Jalen Carter and his love for fast cars would fit nicely with. Oh my God, we're making bad jokes very early in the morning here, guys.
Did you see that? Wait, did you see the picture of John Belaris on Twitter?
Oh yeah, he represents him, John Belaris. Storm of the century. Well, I didn't even know John. Someone retweeted it or whatever it's called, reposting it now. So I don't follow John Belaris, but I totally forgot who he was for a second. I'm like, is that the weather guy? I'm like, that's the Storm of the Century guy. That's right. Our run defense going to be 2017 good with Davis Carter in the middle. All right, so keeping with this run defense because we got a lot of comments here. Hold on, let's roll through them. Hargrave's sacks don't have to come from one guy. That's absolutely correct. It is going to be a group effort, and Milton Williams there. We're going to talk about this whole group as a whole here in a second. That's going to be the next phrase for Mike here. Is that guy still on the loose? Yes, the guy is still on the loose. The masked murder, the short murder is still terrorizing my town. Mike, I don't know if you've heard about the escaped murder in Chester County, but I don't know where you live, but that's right in the heart of my pizza shop town. So, we've been dealing with this now for 8 days. They can't catch this guy.
I'm getting texts from my friends in college from all over the country about this. Like, what's going on out there? I'm like, man,
dude, it's insane that they can't catch this guy. Now, it is coming out that he was trained by like whatever the Brazilian version of the Marines is, and that he was on the loose in the jungle in Brazil for a long time when he murdered somebody there, then escaped Brazil to come to PA. So, this guy is it's not like they released I don't know if you saw it. They released the video of him escaping prison yesterday. He literally Spider-Man walked up a wall and got over. It was pretty insane. And this guy's on the loose. I'm pretty sure he's a congressional seat fairly easy. John Runyon, yeah, he did run for office. And I don't know how well he received he was though as a politician. What's up, K1? How you doing? All right, so let's get into this. We got another one. Jordan Davis and Fletcher Cox will be the run D. How do you see this rotation. Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox. I like to throw Milton Williams' name in there because I'm a huge Milton Williams fan. I love what he does and is capable of in a larger role this year. Do you think two of them like kind of take the ball and end up leading the way, or do you think it's going to come down to a really, really strong rotation, like four guys getting 50% of the snaps each? How do you see it playing out here?
I think it's going to be, from what I understand from Sean Desai's scheme, or what the scheme's going to be. I feel like they're just going to test things out to begin, and it's going to be like a rotation, not a set rotation. They're just going to kind of rotate people in and out until he finds something that works. But I saw a comment there with Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis. I think,
Mhm.
yeah, for running downs and bring Jalen Carter on passing downs, if you want to look at it from that angle, like if people are going to have set roles, I think it would be something like that. But I think in the beginning, they're just going to kind of test things out and see how it works. You mentioned Milton Williams, who I also love, um, and he's great on rundowns. Like he's a run stopper if you look at his stats from last year. So I think at the end of the day, he might get more snaps than you think he is, especially on rundowns.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers were put out there after last year, how effective Milton Williams was on, based off of his 36% of snaps played.
Right.
What was he like, ranked the fourth best run stopper in football? Based off of percentage of snaps. I think people are really sleeping on it. I've joked that after seeing what Bosa got paid yesterday. I was talking to my brother. I'm like, dude, Milton Williams, he's not going to get that kind of money. But if Bosa is worth that kind of money, and if Hargrave is worth the 90 million, just imagine if Milton Williams plays 50% of snaps and has the similar success as he did. He's in line for a huge payday, whether it's from the Eagles or elsewhere. Who knows whether we'll be able to pay him or not. But he is that quality of player. If you look at the analytic percentage kind of snaps, that it's not just run. I think he can get in the backfield and get after the quarterback as well. I think a few of those,
Oh,
Hargrave
yeah.
sacks will be made up from Milton Williams.
No, he can definitely get in the backfield. I was just saying run specifically because if you're going to put people in roles, he would be a good, early down role guy.
If Bosa got what he got, K1 wants to know what Chris Jones is going to get. Where would you rank Chris Jones compared to Bosa there? I don't know. I can't believe they haven't figured something out with Chris Jones yet. Game is tonight with the Lions, and that's going to be our closing segment of this show, talking about that game a little bit. But man, KC, what are they doing not letting this guy be ready to dress tonight?
I don't know, man. They got some injuries too, right? I mean, who knows?
They
I
do.
mean,
Kelsey, I mean, they're still like hit or miss whether even Travis Kelsey is going to play this week.
Tony's out, right? Or he's
Yep.
questionable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Pass plays, Reddick, Carter, Williams. Just imagine that. But just also think of this line, Tyrone, and the theme that I came up with like just shortly before the show. It's the youth movement. It's the daycare. That you don't see Fletcher Cox's name on here. All these guys. What's Josh Sweat? 27, I think, and Reddick's
Yeah.
28. The other guys are all little babies. I mean,
Yeah.
this team
And
is
that's
based around youth and athleticism, and not grizzled vets like people think it is.
and that's kind of all over the roster. We got
Right.
Jurgens, not for nothing. He looks great, but
Yeah.
I mean, he's never started before. He's stepping into a new position too.
Right.
And I think Sidney Brown at some point is going to take over as a starting safety.
Yeah.
Before
I
the
think they
season's
need to
over.
ease him into it a little bit. I don't want him out there 70% of the snaps right from the get go. He needs to learn. I don't know. We'll get to Matt Chatter. We'll get back to your question in a second because I want to bring up Sidney Brown here. You were at camp a few times and you saw these guys play. I think the thing with him is they need to ease him in because he needs to learn how to throttle down. He goes 110 miles an hour every play, and you can't do that as a safety. You need to know when to push on the gas and when to let off the gas. Do you see the same thing with him?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's one issue. I think the other issue would be maybe he gambles a little too much instead of just
Well, I
staying.
think that's part of the same exact thing.
Yeah.
He gambles and
Yeah.
he misses because he's going so fast, and the missed tackles come from him not
Right.
knowing when to slow down. But if you ease him in, he can learn that, right?
Yeah, he'll sit behind. I think Evans will start, and then I think Edmonds is just there just so you have a veteran presence because he didn't impress me at all during any of the
No.
camp or preseason.
I'm really surprised Justin Evans made this team, and I do see a lot of people saying that he's going to be the starting safety on Sunday, opposite of Reed Blankenship. And I'm surprised it's not going to be Terrell Edmonds, honestly. Mad Chatter wanted to ask you, since you've been down there and a few times and stuff like that, you've been covering the team for a while. Who's the most generous guy that you've dealt with his time on the Eagles roster?
Well, it's gonna sound cliche again, but I mean it's Kelsey and Brandon Graham to me.
Yeah.
I mean I've been there for a while, and they're the two guys Now, there's been some turnover, but those two guys usually remember me and are always generous with their time. I've talked to Kelsey many, many times. I talked to his mom at the CIO event. She was great. And then Brandon Graham, I talked to his trainer a couple times. I talked to his high school coach. He's just legit like the nicest guy on the planet. It's not an act.
That's pretty awesome. I just saw that comment yesterday. Was it yesterday about when Kelsey proposed
Yeah.
to his wife? And I'm just sitting there reading that. I'm thinking to myself that like it sounds like a made up story, but then you see the name Jason Kelsey attached to it, and you're like, no, it fits his character very much so. Yeah, Marshawn, this is a great comment. I thought about this yesterday too. Once you saw that Bosa deal, Hassan Reddick's got to be sitting there thinking, I'm as good as Bosa at getting after the quarterback, and I'm making $50 million over 3 years. This guy's making what did Mad Chatter say? $300 trillion over the next 2 years. I mean, this means that we've talked about this on this show, Marshawn, a bunch. That there is a chance that this is Hassan Reddick's last year in Philadelphia. Nothing against him, but you drafted Nolan Smith just in case. Reddick's going to need to get a huge extension after this season. And if they can't find a common ground, Howie Roseman and Hassan Reddick, then he's going to trade him. Reddick's not going to hold out like Chris Jones, with the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what I mean? Like they're either going to settle it or they're going to move him on for something else because that's just Howie's, philosophy. Hassan Reddick will, if he stays healthy and has another big year, is going to be in for a huge pay upgrade this offseason.
He should be. I didn't understand how good he was, honestly, until I saw him here last year. Maybe because he was playing in like under the radar cities before.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's a beast, man. And he's a local guy. Like if you're gonna go out and overpay for someone, that would be the guy to do it on, just because of the hometown hero aspect of it. I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Bosa, just D Watts in that position. Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Eric. I think it's a very possible thing. NFC top three: Eagles, Lions, 49ers. Well, we're going to learn a lot about the Lions tonight, man. Chatter. I saw you ask about Kelsey. We're going to get into it a little bit later in the show, tonight's game, because I have an interesting Eagles question and perspective for tonight's Thursday night football game. Man, Chatter. I heard, the hyperextension of Kelsey's knee. We'll get into that in a little bit. If I was a GM, I would build my defense around great defensive tackles and safeties. That's interesting because I agree with the defensive tackles, Mister. But in this day and age, safeties are kind of forgotten about in the NFL. They're not as bad as linebackers, but safeties are kind of like, at least in Eagles and Howie's mindset. I mean, you think about it. We're Justin Evans is starting Sunday. Justin Evans hasn't played in half the games in the last 3 years in the NFL, so there's not a lot of value put in the safety. All right, I think this is a great.
I'd rather go cornerback there if you're going to take another position.
What's that?
I'd rather go cornerback, and then you need some lockdown corners.
Absolutely, and we're going to be facing a lot of people that were draft experts. One at Christian Gonzalez with the Eagles in the first round this year, and we're going to be facing him on Sunday. So we'll see about him firsthand right away. Why is everybody sleeping on Kenneth Gainwell? And I think this is the transition to the offense question, because you wrote about in your article. Let me see, was it number 3 or 4? Number 3, DeAndre Swift stays healthy and wows. And there's a lot of people that are very high on Kenneth Gainwell. I am not high on him, but I think DeAndre Swift, like you, is actually the lead guy here. And I think DeAndre Swift is going to show, if he could stay healthy, that he's an elite running back in the NFL, actually. And that it's just health. That's all that's holding him back. And a great offensive line and quarterback that now he has here in Philly. Talk about your thoughts on the Swift versus Gainwell and how this running back, I know how Nick Sirianni talked about it, in his press conference the other day, and he said it's going to be the hot hand and then stick with them. To talk about how you feel this running back situation is going to play out.
Yeah, I mean, it is a true committee, and I don't think Nick's lying. I think he will play the hot hand. He's shown that he's done that in the past, but I just think, just from what I've seen from Swift, just on tape from his time with the Lions and just the practices and preseason game. I mean, he only had the one snap, but the practices I've been to, just his ability to line up as a wide receiver, he's the most explosive in that department on the team, and that they love the pass game. And then he's a bruiser between the tackles. He can get out there and hit people and break loose into the secondary. I think he's clearly the best running back, and he might not get all the carries that he would get on another team, but he's going to separate himself, I think, pretty early as the guy, and he's going to have a big year for them. I think he'll go over 1,000 yards for sure. And then when you factor in the receiving yards and all that stuff, he's probably gonna get double-digit touchdowns, I think.
Wow.
I had my fantasy draft yesterday, and I missed him by one pick. I was like, I got him.
Were you in the PSN fantasy draft last night?
I didn't do the PSN.
Uh,
I'm in
uh,
2 leagues already. Two. I can't do it.
I'm calling her out, Regina. Calling Regina out. Taking Jalen Hurts with the number 4 pick in the draft. Just threw everything for a loop because then a quarterback run went on like fire there. Like I ended up with Dak. I got crushed. My team sucks supposedly because I got Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb on my team. But I got Dak Prescott as like the 9th quarterback taken in the league. I had no choice at that point. But man, a 14-team league, let me tell you something. Drafting a fantasy football team in 14 teams is not easy. Not at all.
I've never done that. I've
Reddick
done
is
12.
greater than Bosa. Man, Chatter, I don't greatly disagree with you on that. We got a Kenny G truther. But what you say about DeAndre Swift is so accurate. I keep talking about Miles Sanders, and I know a lot of people don't like Miles Sanders around here. They're glad he moved on, but he had 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns. You've got to replace that. And Kenneth Gainwell can't replace that because he was already part of this team last year. He can take some of the burden away, but someone's going to have that yardage. And in my over-under poll that we did earlier this week, I did over-under 1,000 all-purpose yards for Swift, over-under 800 all-purpose yards for Gainwell. And I thought the poll was going to go under on Swift and over on Gainwell just based off of interactions on this show on social media. It went the other. And pretty like dominant results that a lot of fans are now starting to see that Swift is going to be the guy that gets the most yardage, and Gainwell might not have that huge breakout that people think. This is also Kenneth Gainwell's kind of like the point in his career where he'll be up for a rookie extension after the season and stuff like that. You know, my thing with Kenneth Gainwell is I don't think he could handle a full workload, or I haven't seen anything yet to see that he could touch the ball 15, 18 times a game every single week. Is there any thought about that? Is any of that part of it too with you?
I mean, he was essentially a third down back last year, right? And,
Yeah. Until the
he
last 2 playoff games, he was a third down back.
Yeah, and I like him. I think he's a good player, but I don't see him. He could prove me wrong. People point to the playoff run he had, but it was really one game. If you really want to break it down,
Right.
It was just a Giants game, and a lot of that was in garbage time. Not trying to crap on him, but I think he is what he is at this point. I like Penny better than him, honestly.
Wow.
If we're gonna go that way, I just think he's a little more explosive. Now he's not.
Got Eric
he's
saying
not
Kenny and Penny will be the primary running backs. Swift will be used as a weapon, hybrid utility back, and I agree with that. But I don't want to take away, Eric, the fact that DeAndre Swift can actually run the football. You know what I mean? Like he's actually he is a hybrid weapon possibly, but he's actually a really good running back too. And he was stuck in Detroit. He's got our offensive line now. Jalen Hurts back there with him. And if Brian Johnson uses any form of creativity, I don't know about you. We talk about the defensive line configurations. Could you imagine being an opposing defense? You got Jalen Hurts in shotgun. You got A.J. Brown on one side, Devontae Smith on the other, Dallas Goedert wherever he is. And you've got Swift on one side of Hurts and Kenneth Gainwell on the other side of Hurts. Like, what do you do as a defense? Like, how do you even think about what to stop there?
They're going to be dangerous.
You're speechless on it because there is no answer to it.
I mean, on paper, except for the rookies that we talked about in some key situations and key positions, they look unstoppable on paper, and it sounds insane to say that, but it's true.
Auction drafts. We've already talked about auction. I've never done an auction draft successfully. I did one as a test, and it was terrible.
I would like to try one, but I've never done one.
Yeah, I tried one a few years back, and I didn't do any research going into it, so I knew nothing about what I was doing, and it just bombed. I overpaid for a few players, and my team stunk, and it was not good, not at all. Imagine fumbling the ball twice in the Super Bowl and complaining about being underutilized. Well, yeah. Mad chatter after taxes. Bosa is going to have to move into his parents' basement. I mean, yeah. California taxes aren't great. NFL reality check. What's up this morning? In all honesty, I think to compare Swift and Penny to J.A. and LeGarrette Blount. Swift is your agile. Yeah, I think it's more going to be Swift will be featured in the first half, and if we build that big lead up, Penny will be featured in the second half of games to wear that defense out and milk the clock. Do you see it similarly playing out like that?
I like that. I think that's kind of how it could play out. No, I mean, I don't think it's as apples to apples because I don't think Swift and Penny are as physical as those two guys were.
Mhm.
But in in terms of roles, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's interesting that you put Penny up there, where it is. And the whole conversation has been around injury history with actually not just Swift and Penny. A lot of the guys that have been brought in, Justin Evans, who you talked about earlier, injury history. A lot of guys. Is there? I mean, you didn't put it in your article, but something I've been thinking about a lot lately is we did bring in a lot of injury-prone guys, and the theory is where they'll get used less here, so they have better blockers for the running backs and whatnot. That it shouldn't be a problem. Does that concern you at all? That a lot of these people that we've brought in kind of have that injury history thing going with them.
I mean, it's kind of been Howie's MO, right? That's
Hmm.
the lottery tickets, or what he calls them, right? And it
Yeah.
hasn't really been a problem. I think that's the overarching problem for this team. If you're going to poke holes in this team, it's like everything that could go right last year went right. They didn't have any
Hmm.
injury problems at all, and so far they haven't this year. I mean, Josh Job's the only guy on the injury report this week,
Yep.
so it doesn't concern me. But I think that's going to be if the Super Bowl hangover is going to get us, it's going to be because of injuries. It's not going to be. It's not going to be because of talent.
No, not at all. It's not going to be because of talent. It's not going to be because they're not focused or mentally prepared. It's going to be because of the injuries. But so again, I want to get back to your article because there's other names on your article here that I want to cover here. But that injury hangover. Are we deep enough? Or are there any positions that have injury concerns that we're not deep enough? Like if DeAndre Swift goes down, we've got Rashad Penny, we've got Boston Scott, we've got Kenny Gainwell. Justin Evans goes down, we got Sidney Brown, and while we like Sidney Brown, we have no, assurances there. Like, where would you be most concerned with this team depth wise if somebody goes down?
Yeah, I think we know what they are, right? It's not they're not
Mhm.
secrets. It's
Right.
safety, it's linebacker, and nickel corner. I would add in there too, just
Yeah,
because.
absolutely.
Just because based
I
on
think they're concerned about nickel cornerback, and that's why Bradbury has been getting some reps at that spot, in some of the practices. Yeah, Anthony or Tony, I love this comment. Everybody talking about Swift playing that hybrid wide receiver weapon. Kenny Gainwell could do that as well. So it's not going to be just cut and dry when both running backs are out there. That if it goes to Swift, it's because of a pass. Gainwell is a running. It could go both ways there for sure. Let me fire through a few more here. Until Swift gets hurt again, yeah. Until Swift gets hurt again, he's going to be the lead guy in my opinion. All right, we're
but that's another thing about Swift is he's talked about that, how he's not injury prone. And when I looked it up, he's missed 10 games in 3 years, which is a significant number, but it's not like he's missed 25 games or something like that, you
right,
know?
right. It's not like Rashad Penny who's missed literally like
Yeah.
50% of
He's
the
injury
season.
prone for sure.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. Trey Sermon, Eric, I think he's on the injured list at this point. He got injured waived or whatever, so he's not on the practice squad. He's not, anything. He's just hurt right now. So we'll see what happens with him. And again, or everybody that watches the show regularly, my core 12, they know I was a big Trey Sermon stan and was really hoping for him to get a shot, but it just didn't happen. Mike try an auction draft. Yeah, yeah, you'll never do the others again. That's right. Um, 8 likes is six. Yeah, guys, it's free to hit the like. We've got a lot of people watching, and we've got 15 likes on YouTube, 4 on Facebook. Not good enough. You got to get those likes pounded, guys. It's free to hit that like button. Wide receiver is this at so wide
Yeah,
receiver
I
is
was going to
something that
mention
doesn't.
them.
What's that?
That's a good. I was going to mention wide receiver too. That's a
Yeah.
good. That's a sneaky thin position group,
Well, you put
especially
in
when
your
they.
article, about Quez, and I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago we started talking about Quez and how I think we're also down on Quez Watkins because he made one big mistake in the Super Bowl, and it was a big mistake. Don't get me wrong, but I talked about it during the Phillies playoff run last year when there was one game, I forget what game it was. Reese Hoskins had a huge error, and everybody was ready to ship Reese Hoskins out of town. And I talked about how one game in the playoffs, one mistake is amplified because of the situation. It doesn't make them a bad player. And while I did want a better upgrade than OZ as the fourth wide receiver, we can't just write Quez Watkins off. Quez Watkins is a talented wide receiver. He's very fast. He does a lot of good things. You're pretty high on Quez Watkins too, right?
Yeah, which is weird to say because I traditionally have not been, just because
Right.
I don't like the the social media stuff that he does and all that. But
Right.
just I mean, I don't want to say watching training camp and practice is anything to base too much on. But from what I
Mhm.
saw, he was looking good. He was catching everything. He
Right.
looked quick. He looked a little stronger, and he was putting in extra work on the jug machines and all that. So I think he's focused, and I think them signing OZ kind of gave him a wake up call. Like,
Right.
I got to get my stuff together here.
A lot of people want to know how much Kelly Green stuff you bought because I've been bashing Kelly Green since the day it was announced it was getting released.
I did not buy any because I have a Jerome Brown. Bringing it back full circle, I have a Jerome Brown, Kelly Green, Mitchell, and Ness that I
There you
bought
go.
years ago. So
There you
I
go.
don't. I'll just put this out there. I don't buy current players
Okay.
because they get traded so much.
Yep.
So they look great. I love the Kelly Green, but I
Oh,
did
see,
not
I
buy
hate
any.
them. I think they're so overrated, the Kelly Green. So overrated. And the fact that people skip paying their mortgages and their rent payments and car payments to go buy $800 of the Kelly Green merch just drove me nuts. And we spent hours on this show bashing. Well, I did, and everybody made fun of me. Only way to stop the Eagles' offense is to pressure the quarterback. Pats could do that with exotic blitzes. Kelsey has a lot on his plates this week. Missed it. While I appreciate it, and I appreciate your comment and thought here, it's not as easy as it sounds to pressure the quarterback when the quarterback's Jalen Hurts. When the offensive line, it's not just Kelsey, it's Lane Johnson, it's Jordan Mailata, it's Landon Dickerson, it's Cam Jurgens. It's not like you're going up against the 2020 banged up Eagles here. This is an elite offensive line, and you have an elite quarterback at avoiding them. I get the thought process; you got to get the pressure there, but it's a lot easier said than done. Again, getting pressure on this quarterback in Jalen Hurts.
And traditionally, Belichick has kind of struggled against mobile quarterbacks. I
Yeah.
mean, Lamar and Justin Fields ran all over him.
Mhm. Absolutely. Jarvis Landry is still out there. I don't know how much Jarvis Landry
Oh,
has still in the tank, but I'm surprised that they didn't bring in another veteran guy in camp to at least push Quez, to push OZ, a little bit. Even if they didn't make the team, I'm really surprised. I'm also really surprised they only kept 4 on the active roster to start. Yeah, I'm sure they'll bring one. Who do you think they're going to bring up on Sunday? Obviously, a punter. Obviously, Aaron Sipos is still in the practice squad. They'll bring him up. Do you think they bring up a fifth wide receiver to be a punt returner or anything like that? Or do you think they bring up an extra defensive player and just roll with who did I read? Boston Scott is that kick returner and
OZ is going to be the punt return.
OZ's the punt returner at the start. Do you think they bring up another wide receiver or do you think they go another direction with that second call up?
I mean, I think that they would go defensive player
Okay.
unless the hamstring injuries, because they both have hamstring injuries, I believe, OZ and Watkins.
Yep.
Unless those injuries are more serious than they're letting on.
Okay. And K1, it's a great point. How many teams have stud wide receiver threes? I bet you if you ranked all wide receiver threes, Quez Watkins wouldn't be at the bottom as most Eagles fans, like casual Eagles fans, would try to say that they are. You know what I mean? That he would be much higher ranked than we probably realize amongst wide receiver threes. Phil Stiefel and Jason Kelsey, two of the greatest beards in Philly. Hey, I appreciate. Don't compare nobody's better than Jason Kelsey in anything. He's the greatest here in Philadelphia. He's right up there on the Mount Rushmore. Uh-oh. Yeah, no. We're not going on a Kelly Green rant. I was just pulling up questions that were constantly getting asked. We're not doing that again. Hey, mister, if there's one player in the NFL to trust facing exotic blisses, yeah, it's Jason Kelsey. There's nothing Jason Kelsey hasn't seen yet. Nothing at all. Um, are we as good in pass blocking? It's a fair question here, Marshawn, because our offensive line is much better at run blocking than pass blocking. The thing is, though, they're still really good at pass blocking as well. They're just that elite at run blocking. So, do you agree with that, or do you have concerns in the two different sides of it there?
I don't have any concerns, and
Exactly.
one of the major reasons why is because it hurts. Because he's not going to sit back there like Carson Wentz for 3 minutes. He's getting the ball out or he's taking off.
Yes, the Brazilian 5-foot guy could probably return punts for the Eagles. And since he can't get caught by 400 authorities that are chasing him over a 5-mile radius in Kennett Square, if he can avoid 400 cops, I'm sure he can avoid 11 special teams players on the other team. K1, comment of the day so far, right there. I appreciate that massively. I don't even want to know his name, Daniello or something like that. I've read so much on him. I don't even know his name. OZ is a good wide receiver. Between Swift, Kenny, Albert O, I don't think they bring in anyone at wide receiver. I think that's a fair comment, Tony. The 4 tight end thing kind of shocked me. I don't know about you, Mike, but I wasn't for the Albert O trade. Because again, what did we talk about? Injury-prone players. Albert O's missed a lot of time in his career so far. But as a fourth tight end, you could do much worse than Albert O, right?
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were going to keep 4 tight ends. I didn't expect a trade for another one. Um, but I think that's because Stoll's a blocker. He's not a pass catcher.
So yeah, I tried to pronounce his name the day the trade went down, and I accidentally said Aqua Bonum. So if you want to know what Aqua Bonum means, that's what it is. It's how I can't pronounce names. And when I saw the name quickly, my initial was Aqua or something like that, and I didn't say it right. Um, do you think he sees the field more than Calcaterra in Week 1?
I'm not sure. That's a good question. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. You stop me.
All right, let's go down some of these other things that you said on your article here. Obviously, the Jalen Hurts MVP one, that's easy to kind of agree with on here. No, what do you make of this whole no? You wrote no punter, no problem. Do you really think we spent some time when the 53-man roster went down talking about the no punter on the 53 and how it was really just Howie Roseman manipulating the system a little bit more. You don't
Mhm.
have a great punter. You don't need to waste a roster spot. No one's going to claim Aaron Sipos off of waivers. You bring him up for 3 weeks, and then you either keep him or you move on to the next punter. And it's almost like it's going to become this thing where we made it to the Super Bowl with a bad punter last year. We can make it to the Super Bowl with a bad punter again this year. Is Howie Roseman kind of redefining how the punter role and how you manipulate the uh, the practice squad and the 53-man roster? Do you see it more as that, or is it just they just can't figure it out? Because they've brought in like literally 60 punters to work out, and none of them have made the roster yet.
I think it's a combination of that. They bring these guys in, they're not impressed, and then, like you said, I think they are definitely trying to manipulate the roster and how teams do this. I think if this thing works, it's going to become a trend. I mean, Howie's talked about this in interviews where he said, "I want to stay ahead of the curve. I want to set the trend, not react to the trend." Is what he
Right.
said. And here we go. If this works, you're going to see a lot of teams start doing this. I think.
Yeah. I mean, you've seen teams with 3 wide receivers on their 53, teams with only 1 quarterback on their 53 initially. You're going to start seeing teams kind of manipulate it a little bit more. And I think the punter thing is just I think I think too many people made too much out of Aaron Sipos holding kicks for Jake Elliott as why they had to keep him. And if he doesn't succeed in the next 3 weeks, I think they just cut him and they bring somebody else into the practice squad and elevate him 3 weeks till I think they just keep doing that over
You
and over
can,
again till someone proves they're worth the job.
I think you
Um,
can do it right 6 times. You would have to do it or something. I think if you work out the math, you could do that. You
yeah,
could
I mean
find
you can
6.
find 6 average punters that are sitting out there needing work. Like,
I
is it
mean,
really that big of a deal?
if you're relying on a punter, then the team stinks. So it doesn't
A
really matter.
Absolutely. If the punter's the end all be all, then we have so we had another question coming here. Eric said over under 100 yards rushing for Hurts, but then K1 said if Hurts has to rush for over 100 yards, something else has gone wrong. If you are relying on your punter, that means something else has gone extremely wrong. And then if you want to answer this over under on 100 yards rushing for Jalen Hurts week 1, you could do that.
Week 1,
Yeah, against the
I'm gonna,
Patriots.
I'm gonna take the under,
Yeah.
but like I said, based on Belichick's history against mobile quarterbacks, it could go over, but I'm taking under.
Okay. I trust Kelsey, but it's the NFL, and every game each player has to prove himself. NFL, not for long. And not for long, Mista, but Jason Kelsey is one of those guys that doesn't apply to. Jason Kelsey's good to go no matter what. Jason Kelsey can have the worst game of his life on Sunday, and it doesn't matter. It's still Jason Kelsey we're talking about here. If punter is your biggest problem, your team is awesome. I think we can just end the show right now. We're done. We cancel everything. We don't need to go another 45 minutes. I mean, that pretty much sums it all up right there. Um, Howie is going to make punters the poor man's running back. It's very possible. And what do you make about this whole? We've talked about this with lots of guests and a lot on the show. How the running back position has changed so much, and all the money talk, over the last like month or so with running backs. What do you make of this entire situation with running backs across the whole NFL?
I honestly feel bad for the running backs because I think it has devalued the position so much, which is unfair. Because
Absolutely.
if you have an explosive running back, it kind of changes your entire offense. Like we talked about, like Miles Sanders put up numbers last year, but I was never a huge Miles Sanders fan, never wowed me. But one of the reasons, and I'm glad they didn't do it because of what they got. But I really want to beat John Robinson just because I think this guy's going to be an absolute stud in this league. He's dynamic. But yeah, like I said, I'm glad they didn't take him. But I feel bad for these running backs, but I get it. I get it. Why would you invest all that money and resource into a running back where if you draft one, you get him for 4 years and you rotate, move on, find someone else. Why pay him?
If we're going to be rotating punters off the practice squad, you just rotate running backs on rookie contracts, and that's about. And I agree with you. I feel bad for them because I kind of feel like they put their bodies through so much, obviously. And I don't know what the exact numbers anymore. I remember doing this a couple of years ago, this conversation, and we talked about the average career expectancy timeline for an NFL player, but the running backs is so much lower than any other position. So they never actually get to that second contract unless you're the elite of the elite, and even then you struggle to get paid. Something's got to be done in the NFL, and I don't know what it is. Whether they I mean, I know there's a rule like you have to play X amount of years to get your pension and your medical benefits. Maybe running backs get a little bit more in their retirement if they play 2 years versus 4 years or whatever. Um, but something's got to give, or running backs, rookie contracts could be voided at earlier if they want to. I don't know. There's got to be something for them. But on the flip side, I don't think anything that they do is really going to make a difference because very few teams are going to pay big money to these running backs.
Yeah, you're gonna look for the next best thing, the younger thing, and that's how it's gonna be.
What did Miles Sanders get? Like $7 million a year from Carolina, six,
Which
seven
looks like
million
a
dollars.
great deal. That looks like a great deal right now.
Right. But the fact that we spent that much money for four running backs versus one, it really says something about the running back position. Can we at least Randall Cunningham as I mean, yeah, Randall Cunningham. I remember that. I remember that punt. I'm old enough to remember watching that
Mhm.
game live. Um, don't recall that, Anthony, but wouldn't surprise me. Oh, Anthony saying before that Kelsey might have played with a broken arm a few years ago. It wouldn't surprise me either. I don't remember it either, but it's very possible. How many rookies will start? Travis, great question. I appreciate you checking in. Um, I don't think starters really matter, in the NFL as a whole anymore. Who's the first 22 on the field? It doesn't really matter. It's the snap percentage. And Jalen Carter is one that I think you'll see a very high snap percentage from. Whether he's on the field for the first play or not, I don't know. Um, N'Kobe Dean, I kind of consider him like a sort of rookie, and he's going to lead a lot of snap percentages as well. But that's about it on the rookies. Nolan Smith, I think early in the season, his snap percentage will be a little lower than people expect. Do you think any outside of Jalen Carter, any of the rookies or super young guys will have a very high snap percentage?
Well, I mean, Jurgens obviously.
Yeah, well, I don't know why I
Yeah,
forgot about Jurgens there. Yeah, he's kind of
uh,
sort of a rookie too.
Blankenship if you want to throw him into that second year guy. Um, yeah,
I mean, I think that it's really weird, but you bring up Blankenship's name, and I think it's something very interesting there. I mean, we talked about Jalen Hurts' jump. We've talked about a lot of players in Philadelphia sports generally. The jumps they take from one year to the next. This time last year, Reed Blankenship wasn't starting on this team. This time last year, Reed Blankenship was like a fringe 53 roster guy. He was like a camp darling that made the team. What have you seen from Reed Blankenship that has turned him into such a I mean, like, he's, like, burst onto the scene. Do you think there's any chance of regression from Reed Blankenship? Or what have you seen that solidifies he didn't even dress for some of these preseason games.
I know.
That's how
No.
solidified he was in his roster spot. Like, it's a huge jump from this point last year to now.
We thought going into camp that, he was the favorite to win the starting job, but we thought
Yeah.
it'd be a competition, and it was never a competition.
Mhm. I mean, that sums that up spot on.
No, I like him. Look, I talked to Brian Dawkins about him last year after the Packers game when he came in and made the interception off Aaron Rodgers, and he's like,
Right.
I like everything about him. He's a tackler. He's got good instincts. He's good in coverage. He looks good, but like you said, yeah, we don't know a lot about him. Could there be regression? There sure could, but he looks like he has all the intangibles, and there's a reason why he's starting.
Yeah. So actually, we'll get to Eli Ricks in a second. So I think Eric made a great point here, and this is why DeAndre Swift's on this team right now, and some of these other guys, running backs have to catch. It's no longer the world of Derrick Henrys and Dalvin Cooks are going to get less and less. Those type of running backs. If you're not a flexible, dynamic, as he said in his second part, here, unless you're a dynamic running back, you're not going to be able to sustain a career in the NFL. And I think that's Eric a spot on comment right there. You got to be able to do more than one thing as a running back in the NFL nowadays.
Another reason why I didn't like Miles Sanders that much. Couldn't catch.
Tyrone saying Reed Blankenship is all about confidence. He was a stud in college and saw he could play in the league. Now he knows. Confidence is such a big deal with so many athletes across so many sports. Once you start feeling it, you feel unstoppable, and that actually could take you really far in the NFL.
And he likes to hit people. Another one of those guys that likes to hit people.
Right.
Like Nolan Smith said, I want to hit people.
K1 saying Eli Rick's thoughts, but hold on 1 second. Thank you very much, Mister. I greatly appreciate that. Muchas gracias for the super chat there. Eli Ricks, what are your thoughts on Eli Ricks?
Yeah, I mean, he looked great in the preseason games. I think he's one of those guys that's a gamer, right? He didn't look great in practice, but the lights came on, he was ready to go. Made some big plays for them. I like him. And then we look at his college stuff. He was one of the number one corners in the country at one point.
Right.
He's got it, and I'm glad they kept him.
Mm-hmm. Do you think? And this again goes to the roster manipulation. If Howie Roseman wouldn't have been one step ahead and said, we got to keep a punter on our 53, Eli Ricks could have been one of those guys that was the final cut down. And if you looked at the waiver wire, I don't know if you looked at this, the players that were actually claimed off of waivers from across the NFL, I think it was like 40 or 50% of them were defensive backs. And Howie, maybe Howie foresaw that as the way the NFL is going. Got to get a lot of defensive backs. Got to get a lot of guys like this. And Eli Ricks might not have cleared waivers if he cut him. That's again going towards the Howie Roseman seeing 2 steps ahead versus reacting to what the rest of the league does.
And the injury to Zach McPherson, of course, I think expedited
Zach
some of that.
I think it's a very big injury there. A lot of people don't realize how big of it is. I heard Ricks compared to as an Asante Samuel potential. Maybe. I mean, I think Eli Ricks still has a long way to go. I think Eli Ricks has a potential to be one of the guys that does not even dress on Sunday. He might be one of the inactives, in my opinion. So that's a bold claim there, Eric. But maybe that's all you can do about young kids.
I think I see where it's going with that, though. A guy that's not a great tackler, but can get the picks. Gambles gets the interceptions.
Travis asking again. Thank you for jumping in here, Travis. Make sure everybody's liking this video. We got 17 likes now on YouTube. More likes help the algorithm greatly. Who would you have? Eli, more reps, and Ringo? I think Eli Ricks doesn't even dress week 1, but maybe by the end of the season, Eli Ricks is playing a lot. Ringo dresses. Ringo plays special teams probably right from the get-go. What do you think about the two of them? Who's going to see the field more week 1? By the end of the season, who do you think will have seen the field more?
Ringo by a long shot, just because he's a 4th-round pick, and they want to see what he can do because he didn't look very good in the preseason.
Right. Hit people long as it's not Mossy. He doesn't like football. Here's a good one. Ojomo is another rookie who could produce later in the year. Again, that's another one, K1. I don't think dresses week 1. I think Ojomo will be one of those guys that probably doesn't dress much at all. If you see a lot of Ojomo, in my opinion, it's because somebody else got injured. And to me, I'm not trying to say anything against him. He had a great camp. He had a great, preseason and stuff till he got hurt. But Ojomo is one of those guys to me that, we're so deep on the defensive line, it's going to be almost impossible for him to see the field. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, he looked good. He looked at a good camp. Yeah, he's not going to see the field, I don't think.
Man, Chatter, we already talked about Albert O. Did you miss that whole 3-minute segment there? I mean, you've asked about him 400, or are you just trying to get me to say his name? I think that's what it is. I think they're just trying to get me to say his name again. Albert Chukwumeka Aqua Wugaboma. I don't know, man. It's impossible. It's Albert O. It's pretty simple. It's Albert O, and that is it. Real quick, I got to switch the topic here for a few seconds with you here, Mike. What is up, Joe Bucci? How you doing this morning? So Mike, in the Slack chat there, our little group PSN chat, something popped up a day or two ago, and I did not know we had such a great athlete on the PSN team. Guys, if you didn't know this, Mike Greger actually back in the day tried out for the Philadelphia Soul. And look at that form on his box jump. Look at that. Just look at that form right there. Seriously. So Mike, tell the story about why you try. Like, I don't know much about you. We've chatted a lot, and we're part of PSN, but I don't know you personally. Were you a former like junior varsity athlete or something? Like, where did this come from?
No, this was a stunt by me. Maybe I don't know if I had been drinking, and the Soul were having an open tryout, like Vince Papali style, at the Eagles practice facility actually. And I told my editor, I was like, I got this idea. Why don't I go undercover and I'll try out for the team? I won't let the media relations department know what I'm doing. I'll just sign up, pay my fee, and go like I'm actually trying out. And he's like, I love it. And
I think it's a fantastic thing. Man,
So
Chatter, the Philadelphia Soul were the old arena football team. I think they won, what, 1 or 2 titles in
they
the
won
Arena
at least
Bowl
one.
there.
I know they won one when Jaworski was there. He was like
Yeah,
the president.
Jaworski was the owner of it.
Don
Yeah.
Bon Jovi and Ron Jaworski were like the president. They were like the partners.
Look at that K1. White boy form right there from Mike Greger. That is definitely a perfect comment right there. But seriously, so what? I mean, like, you really legitly did you like? I don't know. Like me, I was never a great athlete, but I had some injuries. So if I came up with an idea like this, like, it would be brutal looking if I did this, because I can't run, I can't do anything anymore from some serious injuries I had. Like, do you consider, like, when you went into it, you're like, it's a great idea, it's a great joke, whatever. But then in your mind, once you get there, you're like, I got to really go full out. Like, did you think you could do any of this stuff, or did you like?
Well, I didn't think I was going to make the team. Okay, I did not think I was going to make the team. Let's throw that out there first. But yeah, I was back then. This is a long time ago. I went to the gym every day. I was in pretty good shape. I wasn't a runner, but I had some muscle, and I thought I could hang a little bit. But quickly, I started to take it a little seriously, and I was like going to the fields and doing 40-yard dashes and timing myself and the cone drills. And I was like, I'm slow.
Did you try out as a specific position, or did you just try out in general?
I did. I tried out at wide receiver. Actually, the night before, I like called my editor. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. This sounds like a terrible idea. He's like, No, you're in. This is going on the front page. It's like, all right, fine. Yeah, but when you get down there, it's I don't want to say humbling. I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but these guys, these are like Division II, Division III athletes. These are legitimate football players that are trying to make this their career. These are not. It's not a joke. Like, I quickly realized that I was outclassed and I shouldn't be there at all. I latched onto a nice young gent. I wish I could find the article. I don't have it in front of me, but he was awesome. I kind of shadowed him. I got quotes from him. He was like the focus of my story because he was all into it. It was like his 4th time trying out. I kind of felt bad for him because I knew he wasn't going to make the team, but he was a great kid, and yeah, I did everything. I don't have my times. I wish I had my times. They were terrible. They were terrible, by the way.
I saw this. I'm just thinking the opening scene from Happy Gilmore, and they're calling out the names, and you're just sitting there, and like, Coach, you didn't call my name. He's like, what's your name, Mike Greger? Yeah, no, you didn't make the team. I just kept picturing that with your face over and over again in my head when I saw this.
They run you. What they do is they run you through the drill. So I did the 40-yard. I was getting blown by like 300-pound offensive linemen. That made me feel great. I did the long jump or whatever that is, the shuttle cone drill. I did everything. Again, don't have my times, but
they
finally,
we just knew
they weren't good at all. I'm not gonna BS you. They were not good. And then I was going for wide receiver, so they put you in different groups and line you up, and then they line you up with one of the quarterbacks from the team, like a real quarterback, and I get 3 plays. First play hits me in the hands, drop, boom, dropped it. Because they throw heaters, man. That came in fast. And when you come out of your cut, the ball is there, and you got to catch it, and it's coming in hot. No, dropped it. Second one, I think I did catch the second one. It wasn't a pretty catch, but I caught it. And then the third one, I got overthrown. So I wish I would have got another one, but I didn't. That's it. You get 3 shots, and that's it.
We got a bunch of people asking about whether you would have been better than Rich Eisen when he ran all the stats and stuff like that for NFL Network. They want to see a Rich Eisen versus Mike Greger 40-yard dash.
Oh man. Well, back then I would have been because I was a lot younger than Rich Eisen. But I don't know about now. I'll take Rich Eisen if he wants to do it.
Well, I call out Dan Sileo every day on this show for being whatever he is.
I
But
don't
yeah,
think he-
we'll call out Rich Eisen for you on this one here. And by the way, someone did say here, and I do remember this one, Freddie Defo saying that they did win two. First time Bon Jovi promised the city a free concert, and we're still waiting for that supposedly. I don't know who wants to see a John Bon Jovi concert anymore anyway. Um, so anyway, I thought that was funny. I thought that was great. Bring a little light to this show here. We were always messing around. Eric,
It
I don't
was
know
a
if
great
Eric's saying he's a
experience. It was a great experience.
7.31 on a 40. I don't know if that's you or was that Rich Eisen, but yeah, I don't even think I could get a 7.3 on a 40 anymore. I can't run anyway anymore. So um but anyway, I just thought that would be a little fun, bring a little light. We're getting to the final 15 minutes of the show. So I want to talk about the game tonight kicking off the season. But when I was thinking about the game that kicked off the season, brought me back to Jalen Hurts. And I'm not going to take full credit. I was inspired by, I don't know if anybody knows Football Kelly. She's a great follow on Twitter. She used to host a great podcast. Not sure when it's coming back, but she's a huge Eagles fan. And she put something out this morning on Twitter, and it made me start thinking. She put out a tweet saying it was going to be really hard for her to watch the Chiefs raise their banner tonight. So that translated to me into do you think Jalen Hurts will watch the Chiefs raise their banner? Because he's all about motivation. He's all about the mental aspect of it. He uses so much to drive him. Like he doesn't need any more to drive him, but he uses everything as motivation. Do you think it just strikes me as something he'll like watch it, take a screenshot of them raising the banner and slap it on the wall of his locker? And do you think there's, anything to that he would potentially care, about what's going on? Like, 'cause to me and you, it's gonna hurt to watch that. But to him, it's even more. You know what I mean? Because they were this close. What are your thoughts on that? Oh, actually, again, thank you very much, K1. We greatly appreciate it. Yes, Mike Greger and
Oh no,
everybody.
I don't want to be compared to Cilio ever.
Better than that. What's that?
I don't want to be compared to Dan Cilio
Yeah. No,
ever.
they're all saying you're better than Dan Sileo. I've been calling out Dan Sileo for being a silly
The
man
bar is low.
for so long. And Dan Sileo don't have the guts to come on Trending in the AM. So I was shut down every single one of his bad takes so quickly. Um, but thoughts on that whole watching tonight's game as a fan, being disappointed as Jalen Hurts for motivation? Do you think any of that's accurate?
So I'll be honest with you, I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah,
But
I didn't think about it till I saw that tweet right before the show.
now that you mention it, I think you're on point with that. I think he will. I think he will. I could see him slapping something on his locker.
I think I
and
gave
being
you an
like,
idea for a quick short hitter article after the
"Yes,
show's done.
you did. I'm writing it down."
No, I mean, I think there's a little bit of motivation involved in watching because look, I mean, it's not like other years. Kansas City is still the favorite to win the Super Bowl this year. It's not like they're done and they're moving on. They're rebuilding. They are still the pedigree. They're still what everybody is looking to beat. And not everyone talks about a target on the Eagles' back. Well, there's no target bigger than the Chiefs' back right now. And so everybody's going to be watching. The Eagles have to play them, so they're going to be paying attention. There's a lot that's going to this game, and I think there's some motivation, not just for Jalen Hurts, for the whole Eagles team. You know what I mean? That, this is what we've got to get to. We need to watch it. It's going to hurt watching the banner raised, but it's part of it, right?
It's definitely part of it. Everything matters to Jalen Hurts. Probably to the whole team, but everything matters to Jalen Hurts. Everything he says is intentional. Everything he does is intentional. And you got to think that they want the Chiefs to win. In an ideal world, they want to get back to the Super Bowl and play the Chiefs and beat the Chiefs.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So what do you think about this game tonight? So tonight we're kicking off the NFL season. Hold on real quick here. I actually missed it. I think I could do the 40 in under 60 seconds. I think. It's not a guarantee, but it would be less than even money that I could complete it in under 60 seconds, as long as I don't fall over. Because there's a chance of me trying to run a 40 that I would fall at some point in it. If I don't fall, I think I could get it somewhere between 30 and 45 seconds. Just going to say that. Yeah, Cilio's a next level troll. I'm trying to bring up a good idea, and everybody's talking about Cilio still. Cowboys, there's no target on the Cowboys back because nobody knows. But so this game tonight, Chiefs Lions. Obviously, the Chiefs are the crown jewel of the NFL right now. The Lions are one of the hot names that everybody wants to pick. I don't think they win the division. I still think the Vikings are slightly better than them. But there's a lot of hype around this Lions team. I do think they're a playoff team. But then you also got no Chris Jones for the Chiefs tonight. You've got Travis Kelsey, maybe not playing. So, what are your thoughts on tonight's game and how it could play out? And is this a possible like coming out show for Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions?
I actually entertained for maybe a millisecond taking the Lions in my survivor pool. And then I
Okay,
was like, no, then I was like, no, 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 I got to put down the beer.
yeah,
That's not a good idea. I, no, I think the Chiefs win. But I do like the Lions. I hate the Vikings. I think the Vikings are way overrated.
I mean,
I
they
really
won
like
what
the Bears.
12 games
I'm buying
last year. They're pretty much the same team this year, minus Dalvin Cook.
I
You know,
just don't
yeah,
like
I
I
don't
don't like
like them in the playoffs, the Vikings, but I think the Vikings are good enough in a division that's gotten weaker with the Packers losing Aaron Rodgers that they could still win 11 or 12 games and win that division.
the could. I'm big on the Bears. I'm
You're
buying
big
into
on
the
the Bears. I
I'm
did
buying
see
into
someone else.
Justin Fields.
I saw somebody put something Buffalo or the Bears with Justin Fields at like 11 or 12 wins winning the division. I think you're asking a lot of Justin Fields to have the same similar jump that Jalen Hurts. Because everyone's like, oh, this year
Yeah.
it's Fields doing the Jalen Hurts jump. Well, why? What has he done? Like he's literally just a running quarterback, and his weapons haven't gotten any better around him. So
Oh,
I'm
really?
I'm not seeing the Bears taking that big of a leap this year.
I mean, he's got DJ Moore. They gave him some weapons. Not to the level that Hurts got,
Right.
but he has weapons. I like
Does
him,
does
but yeah,
does does Travis Kelsey playing tonight change your opinion? Because I think it's a game time, and I think that if it's a game time, they probably should hold him out, just because it's probably the smarter thing to do in a long season. But I think it changes a lot if Travis Kelsey's not playing. Obviously,
it changes. For me, it's more about how good are the Lions than how not good are the Chiefs, if that makes sense.
yeah, it does. Peanut saying Detroit makes a statement and upsets the Chiefs 27-24. What I think is telling, I had this up earlier. Hold on. That you would think in Kansas City, defending Super Bowl champions, first game, national TV, the Chiefs are only a 4.5 point favorite tonight. I'm not sure if you're a betting man or not, Mike. That
I
line
am.
to me is like such a trap line. Like I think the Chiefs win big, but when they're putting it at 4.5, they're begging you to take the Chiefs
Yeah.
there. Which when a sports book is begging you to take a bet, to me that's the scariest time to place that bet. What do we got here? Bears are going to be awful. K1, I hope you're right because hold on, I've got my notes. Let me see. What did I predict for the Bears? I did do every team's record prediction here, and I put it on Twitter, but I forget what I had the Bears at. There they are. I had them at 7-10. The Bears. So yeah, they did get. I kind of forgot they got DJ Moore till Mike said it too. And DJ Moore is really good. I think DJ Moore actually in fantasy drops off because I don't buy Justin Fields. Ravens are freakish. Yeah, the Ravens are going to be a good team. That whole AFC North is going to be a very tough division, and I think it's the toughest division in football to predict the outcome because all four of those teams could hypothetically win the division. None of them are going to steamroll through the playoffs, but they all could win the division. Bears D is still, yeah, possibly. I totally for Eric, great comment. Is he healthy? I don't even know if he. I don't even. I kind of totally forgot about Chauncey Gardner Johnson. This is our first chance to see him in another jersey tonight. Totally for now. I have even more motivation for the Chiefs to win this game, and for Patrick Mahomes to pick the secondary apart. More motivation there. Every time they give up a big run, I'll be laughing thinking about that trade down. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're in the final 5 minutes of the show. Again, it's free to hit the like button. 17 likes so far on YouTube, 6 on Facebook. Hit that like button. Thank you very much for all this super chat. So, Mike, to end this show, the next 5 minutes here, um, final thoughts on this Eagles season. And one of the poll questions was, will the Eagles win the Super Bowl? And there were a lot of votes on that. And it was over 70% of the fans that vote on this poll. And my followers are Eagles fans based off of these results. Over 70% of the people said, yes, the Eagles will win their second Super Bowl this year. Where are your thoughts on the confidence meter, on this whole season as a whole?
So I'm not a homer. I tend to gravitate more negative, and
Mhm,
I keep trying to talk myself out of them winning the Super Bowl. But the more I look at the NFC, I don't trust the 49ers. Like,
mhm.
great, they have a great defense. They don't have a quarterback. Like, They don't scare me. They don't scare me. I think the Eagles are clearly the best team in the NFC. So I think they get there right now.
Mhm.
Chiefs, Bills are still good. I
Which
think
real
they
quick,
get there.
my man Mad Chatter's also a Buffalo Bills fan. He's asked like 47 times in the comments, and I haven't put it up once to give us a Josh Allen take. I try to crush Josh Allen as much as possible for Mad Chatter on this show. Give him a 2-second Josh Allen take.
I love Josh Allen. I mean, I here we go. I'll say Eagles, Bills, Super Bowl. Taking the Eagles though. I got him 11-6 on my. I just did my schedule last night. I got him 11-6.
The Bills at 11-6. Yeah,
No,
I have the Bills still
I
winning
got
13 regular season games. I just don't think the Bills. Josh Allen is kind of like Josh Allen. If he was in Philadelphia, I've said this before, he would get crushed in the city. Josh Allen is kind of sort of like Donovan McNabb. Great regular season, comes up small in the big moments of the playoffs to an extent. I know that playoff game they went back and forth on that field, but overall, for the most part, his team, the quarterback, gets the credit for the good and the bad. He would get crushed in Philadelphia, Josh Allen, if he was the Eagles quarterback.
maybe.
I got a feeling Slay ends up a Raven next year. That's an interesting take. I don't even know where that came from, Eric. That's a
Yeah.
really interesting take
Wasn't
there.
that the
There you
rumor
go.
that
Yeah.
weren't
What's
they
up?
flirting with him? I think they were flirting with him this year when that
Yeah.
trade rumors were going down.
Time's up. Shout out to Mike. Yeah, we got it. We got to shout out Mike here. It's been great having him on. No extra time. I mean, we could do extra time if you want. You did give the super chat, so we could keep going. Mike might have to get going. Mike's probably got 47 article ideas to write about now. But
I do.
so Mike, as I'll keep going for the super chats for you guys, but we're gonna wrap up with Mike here. I'll get him out of here. What do you got going on? What's on your agenda today and the rest of this week as we get set for the football season, article wise?
I'm gonna take a look at some of the matchups. I was just doing some research on the Patriots this morning. I didn't realize how bad their offensive line is. I mean, they were already bad,
Beat up
and
really
now they
bad.
have we're throwing second stringers in there. So I'm gonna look at some key matchups to watch for the Week 1 game, and then I'm gonna try to work the phones and see if I can get some interviews with people, maybe um,
Um,
talk to some scouts or agents and stuff.
what do you have happening this weekend with the Eagles? Do you have them? Because there's a few people that are buying into the Tom Brady theory. That because he's going to be retired on Sunday,
Yeah,
that the Patriots are going to become this magically great team, and that the Eagles fans are sleeping on the Patriots. I don't buy it, but you know, what are your thoughts?
so I keep going back and forth. Initially, I did. I was buying into big time to that Tom Brady night. Belichick's
Mm,
going to be amped up. The Eagles are coming off a Super Bowl. This place is going to be nuts.
mhm.
And for a second, I flirted with taking the Patriots, but then I looked at their roster. And I was like, I
Yeah,
mean, as I don't care how loud that place is, they just don't have the talent to match up with the Eagles. I don't think.
absolutely. For anybody asking, I saw somebody say put up a link. Here's a link in the comments section of Mike's most recent article. 10 things I think of that will happen with the Eagles. But make sure you check it out. You should be checking out Philadelphia Sports Network every single day for all the great content. Eagles, Phillies, Sixers, national stuff, betting content. There's so many great articles from so many great writers on the site. You should be putting it should be your go-to. And if you go there, you sign up for their newsletter, and they'll just send you a newsletter so you don't forget about it every single morning. So keep an eye on all that. And I think Mad Chatter sums it up great. I honestly do think that the Patriots do stink. They will win more games than the Cardinals based off of Bill Belichick alone, but that's not saying much because the Cardinals aren't going to win a single game this year. Um, Josh
Yeah.
Allen reminds me of Cam Newton before he lost his mind. No, I think Josh Allen is better than Cam Newton at this point for sure. Um, we took 3 quarters to beat the Lions' first game last year. Might be. I think that's a fair point. And Travis, great comment. I think this is going to be one of the leadoff topics tomorrow. Slow start. I got to write it down. Lions 2022. We are going to use that comment there as one of the things that we start tomorrow off with. So I think that's a great comment.
Oh, it's
Cam
going to
lost
be
his
a
mind. Yeah,
game. It's not going to be a walk in the park by any means. It's going to be a game.
I mean, I honestly don't think it's going to be a game. I think it is going. I
Okay.
mean, maybe there is a slow start in the first quarter or two, but by the time the end of the third quarter, I think it's going to be a pretty comfortable spot entering the fourth. We're going to see that run Rashad Penny and run out the clock and run out that defense by the end of the game. That at least that's my opinion. I'll have my prediction tomorrow on the show, guys. Do you have a final prediction for the game? And then I'll let you get out of here.
I didn't have my prediction done yet, so I don't want to say
Yeah.
it.
I don't like to make predictions till the final minute of the final show before a game starts. So I like to tease it. I've already dropped a few 20-point predictions. Are you a betting guy, Mike?
I am. Yeah.
All right, so I actually took it and I went ahead and already teased. Why is my alarm going off? I have no idea why my alarm's going off. New phone. Um, I went ahead and teased it up from the 3.5, 4 point line to 6.5 points to get better than even money on the Eagles game. So I got plus 122 by bumping it up to minus 6.5.
I could see that. Still get a touchdown. They cover a
It's a,
touchdown.
it's
Yeah.
a,
Do
I,
that.
I mean, I think they win by double digits, but that's not a good bet. You know what I mean? I think
Yeah.
if you went up to 9.5, it only went up to like plus 145 or 165 or something like that. So I thought plus 122 at minus 6.5 was a pretty safe bet because I think that there'll be a lot of questions on Monday morning if that hit does not hit. If we only win by 3 or if we lose, there'll be a lot of questions on Monday morning. If that hits, I think it means that we did what we thought we were supposed to do in week 1. All right. We're going to wrap it up here with Mike Greger. Mike, thank you very much for coming on. It's been great having you on. Again, like everyone says, you're greater than Dan Cilio, without a shadow of a doubt. Um, Good luck writing this week. Great work as always with the Philadelphia Sports Network team. Mike, thank you much for coming on Training the AM today.
Thank you, Phil. I appreciate you. Take care.
Yeah. Take care. Have a good one. I can take off. Hold on. We'll sign you off with this up on the screen one final time. Look at that form. All right. Have a good one, Mike.
All right. You too, Phil.
Thanks. That was Mike Greger there, Philadelphia Sports Network writer. We'll continue going on for 3 or 4 more minutes here. Again, it'll give you guys more time to hit that like button. We're still only on 17 likes on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, thanks to Mike. I mean, I agree. It's the second or third time I've had him on the show. He does great work. He doesn't just cover the Eagles. He also covers the Sixers for Philadelphia Sports Network, but he is one of the lead Eagles writers. Um, yeah, I appreciate like so I had Liam on yesterday and Liam was, hyping me up. I'm so happy to be a part of this team on Philadelphia Sports Network. So many great people, male and female writers. Um, it's still time, and I need the 500. My phone fried yesterday, so I had to buy a new phone yesterday. My phone started making some of the most crazy sounds ever yesterday, and then all of a sudden, it just turned off, and I haven't been able to turn it back on. We'll try. It had an overnight to rest. Let's see if my old phone will turn back on. Not that it works anymore, but my phone literally fried last night. Yeah, no, all gone. And I lost half my contacts. I lost pictures. I lost so much. I don't know any of my passwords for any of my apps. So I've been trying to figure that out for the last 10 hours. But yeah, the fires, cell phones aren't cheap anymore. I got the cheapest phone they had. It was like $265. So yeah, the super chats are greatly appreciated today. But make sure you check out Mike's article. And we covered it. The one I shared, I don't think we covered all of it. We didn't cover his part on Derek Barnett getting traded. He really truly believes that Derek Barnett will get traded. I do not think Derek Barnett gets traded. He also believes there'll be some growing pains with Sean Desai in this defense. And I thought that was interesting. I thought I'd get time to get into that, and we didn't. There is a chance that there is some growing pains. Nick, what was I going to say? N'Kobe Dean, there's still a lot we have to learn about there. Sean Desai's system, a lot to learn about there. There are a lot of moving parts and inexperienced parts. He also did put in there Devontae Smith outplays A.J. Brown, which I love seeing that. But we don't want to start those controversies. And he closed it. We didn't get to say it. That he thinks that Jason Kelsey retires at the end of a season, at the end of the season, finally. And we've spent so much time talking about the grizzled veterans, and today talking about the daycare of the Eagles. This could be the end, not of just Jason Kelsey, but of Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox. Probably not Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson's got a few more years. I think he said he's going to play out his contract, which is till 2026. I think it's crazy that this could be the end of an era for Philadelphia Eagles with these legends, kind of sort of legends that are on this team. So I think it's really interesting. Oh no, write down your dude. I have them written down, but I must not have updated them all. I must have changed them at some point. I've got 3 laptops. I got a cell phone. I got so much going on here. I've forgotten passwords, changed passwords. It's no, I don't have a Motorola Razor. I do still have my old flip phone that was like 8 feet long somewhere in a box in here. Um, no, not likely. NFC stinks. Yeah, the NFC does stink outside of the Eagles. How long will it take for Philly to hate Desai for not? Look, Sean Desai does not blitz as much as people think he does. It's really true. He really does not blitz as much as people think. And you don't have to blitz a lot, K1, when you've got Hassan Reddick, Nolan Smith, Josh Sweat, Fletcher Cox. When you've got a front five every play, like the Eagles will have, you don't have to blitz. Those 4 or 5 guys are so dominant that they'll just get after the quarterback on their own. Because if you double team one, 3 or 4 other guys are getting single block, and they're going to get after the quarterback every play. Mac Jones and his 2 bricks of feet are going to get smothered all game long. If the Eagles don't have more than 4 or 5 sacks on Sunday, something went wrong. Do videos and analysis tapes with your podcast and get more popular to be rich and get 50K phone. Yeah, I don't need no 50K phone. I wish I could do more analyzing of videos. I just don't know how to edit videos. Like I shared a couple days ago, Travis, one of the original videos that Liam, the founder of PSN, did back in 2000 and what was it, 18? It was right after the first Jordan Mailata preseason game ever, and he broke down all these plays from Jordan Mailata and edited it all together. I don't know how to do that. Plus, I love interacting in the live feeds with you guys. So this is great, and sharing videos and live feeds get you dinged. Um, so we'll just keep to this for now. But if I have more time, I might try to figure out how to do that. Philly only 40, and he said, yeah. I despise 49ers. Well, we all do. Even though, remember, you guys all love my brother, who's been in the comments before. My brother's a 49ers fan. Philly fans still live in the early 2000s when JJ and B Doc shooting the A gap. Yeah, people still live. You don't have to live that way. You don't have to be the Jim Johnson type defense. You look at the defenses that play that aggressive, blitz heavy defenses. They didn't make the Super Bowl. They didn't make many of them make the playoffs last year. The way the Eagles defense, for all the knocks on Jonathan Gannon, his system did work last year. It wasn't pretty. We didn't like it. He came up small in the Super Bowl, but his system did get us there. So, being conservative to an extent, but having a great front 4 and 5 that can get after the quarterback is the way. Seth Joyner complimented the size, creative disguises in preseason, and Nick Sirianni spoke about it. That where was it? That it's still an unknown in his press conference on Tuesday, and that he said that what we saw was very vanilla compared to what we're going to see in the regular season, Eric. So that's interesting. There could be a it might be more aggressive. I don't think it's going to be an aggressive blitz happy defense. It's just going to be a creative defense, and it's going to be a defense where you know, we don't know what's coming, and the defenses don't know what's coming. Where you might see more cornerback blitzes or safety blitzes. You might see Jalen Carter drop into coverage. You might see different creative things. I'm just making up things there, and it did happen in practice. But how many people work for our network? I have no idea. There is an Eagles team, a Phillies team, a Sixers team, a Union team, a Flyers team. There's a golf team. There's betting team. There's probably 25, 30 writers that write for Philadelphia Sports Network. There's only myself doing regular podcasts every day. Flipping the Birds, Brian Cameron, who will be on tomorrow, does a podcast once a week on Tuesday or Wednesday nights, depending on scheduling. And Liam might go back to doing shows. And obviously, Zach Chavalella, he just got his basketball podcast started again this past week. So there's probably 25, 30 people part of the Philadelphia Sports Network team. It's a big team. And they're print in newspapers, on the website, everything. Too high shell is frustrating, but we were the number 2 in the D. Was it number 2, K1? I know we were like a top 5 defense overall. So for as bad as we crushed Jonathan Gannon, it worked last year. Aaron Desai is the closest thing to. He is basically exactly Vic Fangio. If anything, he's even more conservative than Vic Fangio. The problem is all we really know about Sean Desai is 2 things. We know Sean Desai's 1 year as a defensive coordinator with the Bears was atrocious, but the team was atrocious. And 2, we know from what we've heard that when he was with Seattle, before and after that Bears run, that he is super, super aggressive at making halftime adjustments. And I think that's huge because that's what Jonathan Gannon didn't do. No adjustments. He is great at making adjustments. So if something's not working in the first half and Mac Jones puts up 200 yards in the first half, you better believe that Sean Desai is going to have a plan to counter that and to change it in the second half. And that is key because that is what we want. We want coaches that are willing to make the adjustments when necessary. number 2 in yardage allowed and allowed. Okay, I mean, yeah, overall, I think total defense, which is based off of points, I think we were like 5th or something. Like, whatever. The defense was much better last year than we give it credit for, without a shadow of a doubt. Um, we're going to start the wrap up process, but I know I got one or two more comments. It takes from this screen to this screen, a second for them to come over. Mac Jones isn't putting up 200. Yeah, no, absolutely. Mac Jones might not even throw the ball 10 times. Like, legitly, I feel that way. It probably should happen that way. We're going to wrap up Trey in the AM right there, right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We'll be back tomorrow. Brian Cameron, my man, one of the guys who've been coming on my shows for a year and a half now. So he'll be joining us for a brief period, not the whole show tomorrow, about 30 minutes tomorrow. We'll get his takes on the Patriots. We're going to break down Eagles Patriots. We're going to talk about every single NFL game. And of course, I love this. I love the topic that was brought up earlier. We started slow against the Lions in 2022. We're going to start there. What this team's got to do to kick off this game to not let that slow start happen. I've been prestige so many times. Um, the Prestige. I love the Prestige. Um, it's a great movie. JG adjusted to not making adjustments. Absolutely. Um, we're out of time now. We're at 9:40. We've done 10 minutes of overtime for the 2 super chats, even though one was only $4.99. That's not technically $5, but I got you. Citizen Kane. No, I saw it once and I haven't watched it again since like high school. We're gonna wrap up Training the AM right there on Philadelphia Sports Network. We'll be back tomorrow, 8:30 a.m. or 8:15 a.m. Actually, we might go early tomorrow. We'll see how much sleep I get tonight. We might go at 8 a.m. tomorrow because we do got to tackle every single NFL game on the slate. We got to recap tonight's Chiefs game. Fridays on the show are always going to be jam packed. Game predictions for the Eagles, other game predictions, thoughts, fantasy questions. So much to talk about every single Friday on the show. So we'll probably go about 8 a.m. tomorrow. But for everybody at Philadelphia Sports Network, thank you to Mike Greger for joining us. I am Phil Stiefel. Yo, it's pretty simple. It's go Birds.